Welcome to the Prime Health Podcast with your host, Dr. Derek Barron. Dr. Barron interviews doctors, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. The Prime Health Podcast explores breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are shaping the future of health and wellness. So sit back, listen in, and prepare to transform how you think about your path towards Prime Health with Dr. Barron and his special guest.
Hello, my name is Dr. Derek Barron, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Prime Health Podcast. We interview doctors, nurses, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. We explore breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are helpful to shaping the future of health and wellness. And you're going to be excited for our guest today to help us with that. But before we get into the episode, I want to do a quick note from our sponsor, Growth Solutions. We are your growth partner if you are a health and wellness professional. In Growth Solutions, what we try to do is eliminate some of your biggest headaches with lack of new patient lead generation, or if you have a difficult time with communication of your clients, or if you have AI or tech. Wherever you have lack in your business, we want to make sure we're there to help you. We put together processes, systems, frameworks to do all that work just for you. So if you've ever said this to yourself, I'm too busy to grow, too slow to scale, or too overwhelmed to fix it, we can help. Just drop the word growth below or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll do what I can to help you. But like I said, today I want to introduce you to our amazing star of this show. Her name is Shannon Davis. She is a metabolic health specialist. She is the founder of a virtual preventative health practice, and she is a board member of the American Diabetes Association. Shannon is a registered dietitian with 19 years of expertise in metabolic health, specializing in prevention and reversal of chronic diseases through evidence-based root cause approaches. I love that approach. Her diverse clinical background includes organ transplant, bariatrics, sports nutrition, nephrology, and pharmaceutical sales. Now, as a founder of her own virtual preventative and metabolic health practice, Shannon empowers clients to overcome insulin resistance and achieving lasting health by moving beyond traditional calorie counting models. She integrates strategies such as low carb, ketogenic, and carnivore diets, intermittent fasting, nutraceutical support, and exercise to promote optimal metabolic function. Shannon serves as the founding board member of the American Diabetes Society and is a coach for Dr. Ben Bickman's Insulin IQ program. Now, additionally, she is a practicing dietitian at Onwa Health, working alongside the renowned endocrinologist, Dr. Mariella Glant. She is a passionate advocate for metabolic health. Shannon is dedicated to educating others on the critical role of insulin resistance in chronic disease. Now, outside of that busy work that she does, she enjoys CrossFit, weightlifting, running, horseback riding, golf, and exploring the outdoors. Now, if that doesn't get you tired, I'm not sure what does. So Shannon, I want to say welcome to the Prime Health Podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I always start out with this. You know, there could be something that happened when we were young or something that happened during a job as we were getting older. But what was it? What was that catalyst that got you so interested in healthcare?
Well, sort of a couple different things. Originally in college, I grew up with horses. I rodeoed and I was going to be an equine orthopedic surgeon.
Oh, wow.
So I got my first degree at the University of Georgia in animal science. I took my horses with me. They were at college. One was a police horse that paid her room and board. The other, I cleaned stalls all day, so I didn't even get to ride because I was so busy cleaning stalls and scrubbing water tanks for others' horses. But with that being said, I was like, okay, I can't have this as a business because I love animals so much. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't know that I could ever turn somebody down if they didn't pay for it. And so what was my next love and passion? That was nutrition. So I got a second degree in dietetics. And coming right out of school, I thought that I wanted to go straight into endocrinology. A guy that I had dated in college was a type 1 diabetic, and I just was obsessed with diabetes. And that sort of changed when I went into dialysis and worked for the majority of my career in dialysis. Did that for many, many years until that was from 2006 until 2017.
Wow.
And then I met the man that I thought I was going to marry. And at 37 years old, we're like, okay, we need to start trying to have kids now if we're going to get married in the next year, because it could take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't happen for a whole year. And so, of course, traditional doctors send you to a reproductive endocrinologist. And we did a whole year of IVF. And it was, it was really, really traumatic as far as emotional, but physical too. I mean, I took pictures that I will spare your audience, but it looked like I'd been ran over by a car. If you looked at my stomach, probably 1,000 to 1,200 injections over the course of that year. Bones, just on so much medication, and no baby. And there's nothing wrong with me. I'd hit every test known to man. But during that, it brought me closer to God. I was able to when it brought me and humbled me to my knees on more than one occasion. As a female, you kind of feel like that's your duty, and you dream of it as your whole life as playing, mother and baby with your kids or your dolls and my horses were my babies. But it for whatever reason, it wasn't in God's plan for me. But that whole year, no one ever talked about food, nutrition, lifestyle, stress, none of that. It was like, keep doing what you're doing. You're fine. We'll just put you on all these meds. Yeah. And I found a book called Real Food for Pregnancy by Lily Nichols, and it profoundly changed my life. No, I didn't get a baby, but I got a passion for metabolic health, and it sent me down a rabbit hole, which I've only gone deeper, and I'll never come out. I am obsessed with it and like a sponge, but it was really disheartening throughout my whole career, seeing some of the sickest people, organ transplant recipients, dialysis patients, gastric bypass patients. These are the sickest of the sick. No matter what I told them, no matter how much I counseled them, nobody ever left well. They were always sick. They were just a little less sick, maybe on a little different medication regimen, but nobody ever healed. So that never really set very well with me. And then I had my own experience, and then what I learned just ticked me off. What I had learned in school, what I had taught most of my career to these poor individuals that were coming to me as the specialist, as the expert, was the wrong information, Derek. It was wrong. And I humbly, apologize to anybody that I may have helped counsel, that I wasn't able to do my best to help you, because I didn't know what I didn't know. But I can bet your bottom dollar, I have not stopped learning and reading and educating myself on there is a better way. And so that experience led me to where I'm at today. And now I have been able to help thousands of people truly, completely reverse their chronic diseases that they have been told were part of their life, of who they are forever and ever. Yeah. And it's been so gratifying to me, and I'm even more to them. Yeah.
Well, you didn't do it on purpose. There wasn't any ill intent in that, Shannon. You were doing the best you could and what you knew at that point in time. And that's, we all age, we all grow, and we all continue to learn, we hope. So you've done a great job in that. I can definitely hear your passion associated with it. So that's, take solace in that I can hear it, I can feel it. And I'm sure if you had that conversation with people, they would understand it well. So tell me why you're so adamant with your clients about insulin resistance and how they can control it and sometimes even reverse it.
Right. Well, 93% of our country is suffering from what we call insulin resistance. It looks like diabetes. It looks like PCOS or erectile dysfunction. It looks like hypertension, chronic kidney disease, fatty liver, obesity. It looks like skin tags on somebody's neck, gout, neuropathy, retinopathy, dementia, and Alzheimer's. It looks like being hangry well after you've eaten. It looks like being tired. It looks like not being able to lose weight. It looks like a lot of things. And it's never labeled as insulin resistance. It's treated for every one of those conditions, individually. Okay. And what I really try to get the point across is if we target the root of all of those, they all get better. They're all the same condition. They're just looking like different. They're just showing up in a different way. And so insulin resistance is a condition where our cells have become non-respondent to the hormone insulin. It's a hormone released by our pancreas when we take in carbohydrates, whether it's a sweet carbohydrate like sugar or a dessert or fruit, or a starchy carbohydrate like rice or potatoes or bread. The body still sees it as sugar. And in response to sugar, our blood sugar or our glucose is sugar, goes up. That's normally what happens. Insulin is released in order to open the cell and bring that sugar down, or that energy into the cell. Now, in the environment that we live in today, we're exposed to food everywhere, and we're told to eat all the time. And it's not even food, it's ultra processed chemicals that our body doesn't really recognize. And so in order to treat the condition, we have to manage glucose, because anytime glucose goes up, insulin's released. If insulin's released too much and too high over long periods of time, our cells stop responding. So we create this vicious cycle. So if we can teach somebody through what they eat and how often they eat, how they can mitigate that glucose response, we can prevent or reverse the insulin resistance.
Wow. So we hear a lot about intermittent fasting, like we kind of talked about in your introduction. So I'm sure you have something that can help people, but if they wanted to, what they're listening to you say, how can just intermittent fasting by itself, how does that manage or fluctuate blood glucose levels?
Perfect. And I'm glad you asked that, because when I say fasting, some people go, oh gosh, I don't want to not eat.
Right.
And there's so many different types of fast. We have long fasts that go 24, 36, 48, 72 hours. I mean, I know people that have fasted for 40 days. That ain't me, and I don't have any intent to do it. But if you want to, let's just make sure you do it in the right way. But when I speak of fasting, I'm speaking of an insulin fast.
Okay.
What that means is looking at 12 to 16 hours. So you fast, we all fast, whether we think we do or not, because we sleep. It's just restricting or shortening your eating window. So you have a window when you're not eating that you want to be larger than the window in which you eat. So if we look at 16-8, we eat dinner, we stop eating dinner, we start our fasting interval, we go to bed, that counts, we wake up, we get all of that counts until our next meal. So our idea is to aim for something averaging 16 hours. It doesn't always have to be that, because when we're not eating, insulin's not being released. When insulin comes down, our cells can start to release some of that stored energy and burned up as glycogen. We want that. But if insulin's present, you will never burn fat. Insulin is the opposite of fat oxidation. Insulin is the opposite of fat burning. It's a hormone of fat storage, okay, and anti-catabolism. So you have anabolism build, catabolism breakdown. Insulin's the opposite. It halts any type of breakdown. And so our goal is to get insulin down and keep it down for as long as possible. It'll resensitize those cells, so we hopefully don't need as much, and it will allow us to hopefully become fat burners or metabolically flexible, so we can tap in and start to pull out some of that stored energy as fuel.
Okay. So I don't want you to go too deep into this, but can you give us, because you spoke about with a gentleman that you were associated with, type 1 diabetes. So for the listeners and viewers, type 1 versus type 2 diabetes, kind of a global look at both of them.
Yes. So I really think it's ridiculous that they're both called diabetes.
Okay.
Because they're completely opposite. One is a disease of too much insulin, which is type 2. So your pancreas, your beta cells in your pancreas release insulin. In somebody that has type 2, they're in a state of their cells are not responding to the insulin because they're insulin resistant. At the same time, they're making way too much insulin. It's like if you drink coffee all day, you don't feel the caffeine anymore.
Right.
Those cells just become like immune or numb to the insulin trying to knock on the door. Type 1, on the other hand, is an autoimmune condition. That is a condition of no insulin. So the beta cells of the pancreas have been attacked by the body. They no longer produce insulin. What's interesting is somebody with type 1 diabetes could eat 20,000 calories a day and die of starvation because they have no mechanism to unlock the cell and let all of those calories or energy in to be utilized.
That's amazing. So with the work that you do, are you able to help both type 1 and type 2 diabetics?
Absolutely.
How do
Because
you, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, how do you help? Like, how do you work with a type 1 diabetic? And then how do you work with a type 2 diabetic?
Sure. So believe it or not, a type 1 can become a type 2 because their body can become resistant to the insulin they're injecting versus the insulin that their body is producing. We don't want that to happen. We don't want them to become insulin resistant. The more insulin you use, the fatter you get, the more insulin resistant you get. So we want to teach that type 1 how to use as little insulin as possible. And we do that through what they eat. I mean, prior to the invention of insulin, people would stay alive by eating predominantly fat. Like if you look back in our history books, I don't have it right here, but Dr. Gary, is he a doctor? No, Gary Taubes wrote a book called Rethinking Diabetes. And it goes back into the history of prior to insulin. And that's how people would live, is they would completely cut out carbohydrates. And it wasn't until the invention of insulin that doctors started to say, oh, start adding carbs back in because we now have insulin. And when I speak of carbs, why am I speaking of carbs? Carbs are the macronutrient that elicit an insulin response that you need the most insulin for. That's why for somebody that's type 1, we're going to teach them the same way as I would teach somebody that's type 2. They can absolutely do intermittent fasting because their body isn't lowering the amount of insulin they have in their system, but they're able to burn off stored glycogen. Okay. And if we can teach them to eat a diet focused mainly on fiber, fat, because fiber and fat really don't elicit an insulin response. Protein does, but a small amount. Carbs do a lot.
Okay.
So if we can teach a type 1, like I would teach a type 2, to focus their diet primarily on protein, healthy fats, and fiber, they're gonna keep their glucose much more stable. That's really the name of the game in a type 1 and a type 2, is trying to keep, your peaks and your valleys minimal and keep as flat as. Now you're going to have some deviation. That's normal, but the big peaks and low valleys are not good. And the shorter those intervals are, meaning if your blood sugar goes up, the quicker it comes back down and levels out, the better.
Okay. So that balance of moderating your blood glucose with fasting, with food intake that you do, can benefit both of them.
1,000%. That can benefit anybody. Even I follow that diet and I'm not a diabetic. It can benefit many, many people. The more that you have a fluctuation in your glucose in extremes, the more damage you're causing on your body. It's called glycation. AGEs, advanced glycation end products. You're basically caramelizing the insides of your body. You're firing up your neurons, your nerves. So people get neuropathy in their feet. Even if they're not diabetic, they can get neuropathy. Dementia is now type 3 diabetes. Cancer is being called type 4 diabetes. A cancer cell has 7 times more insulin receptors on the surface of its cell than a normal cell. Why? Because insulin's like growth, miracle grow to cancer. It wants that sugar. It wants those carbs. That's what makes cancer cells grow.
Well, I'm getting an education on this, that's for sure. I appreciate you sharing that with me. So you kind of talked about calorie counting. How important is it to you and your clients that they monitor their calories?
I mean, I'm probably going to get some slack for this one, but a calorie is just a unit of energy.
Okay.
It really has no meaning to our body. We don't have calorie receptors in our body. Now we have insulin receptors everywhere. So calories matter in the sense that once you've controlled insulin, when you can control insulin, you can control your hunger, you can control whether you burn or store fat. Then you can pull in counting calories. But like I just mentioned, you can take a type 1 diabetic, you can feed them 20,000 calories. But if there's no insulin present, they're not going to gain a pound. They're going to lose weight. Dr. Ben Bigman's one of the top metabolic scientists in the world. He has a lab where he studies fat cells. And he will say, he's talked about multiple times, he will have fat cells, baby's fat cells, premature fat cells in a solution of thousands of calories. And they're just swimming around in there and they're not growing at all. But the minute you drop insulin in, he said within minutes, they exponentially start growing.
Wow.
So if you control insulin, you control it all. Calories matter. I'm not going to say they don't matter, but if you're trying to lose weight, and we've seen it for the last 30 years, Derek, trying to lower your calories more and expend more at the same time is doing nothing but creating the perfect storm for intense hunger that's going to come back at you at 10 times the strength. It's only going to last for so long. If you want the perfect storm, this is Dr. Ben anyway. Dr. Ben Bigman says this. He goes, if you were going to go to a buffet this evening that had the best chefs in the entire world, and so it's going to have a spread of the best foods that you will ever eat, what would you do to go ensure that you can eat the most food? You would go not eat where you've not eaten and where you've probably exercised a ton. That's what we tell people to do today to lose weight. Go work out like crazy and eat as little food as possible. All that's doing is ramping up hunger, 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 hunger. But if we can tell you to eat, like I tell my clients and myself, I never count calories. I want you to leave the table completely satiated. I want you to eat until you're full, until you're satisfied. If you focus on high fiber, protein, and the good quality fat that comes with it, you can eat as much as you want with eating real food. Nobody overeats steak.
Right.
Nobody overeats eggs. Nobody really overeats broccoli or Brussels sprouts. It's when you add the ultra processed part of it that it hijacks our brain and we can't stop.
Yeah. Interesting. So in some of the work that you're doing with your clients, have you created like your an own specific protocol that you use to assist them in gaining optimal health?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so really I call it a 3-step protocol.
Okay.
And I say it's simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy,
Yeah.
but it's truly simple. Incorporate some time restricted eating. And I'm going to let you choose, Derek, what you want. Do you want to do 12? I say 12 to 16 hours. If you want to go longer, that is amazing. But you don't have to be successful. So we're going to do 12 to 16 hours. Maybe you start with 12 and you work your way up. Okay. I typically do 14 to 16. Some days I do longer based on it's just how my day pans out. Some days I'm hungrier and I do shorter. But we're going to do some time restricted eating. And with that, we're going to not snack. We're adults. We're not going to die if we don't snack.
Okay.
The snacking industry creating snacks. If we tell people they need to eat every 2 to 3 hours, we can sell more food. What is snack foods? They're ultra processed food. They're packaged foods. They're not go cook a meal foods, right? The second thing, we're going to look at what we eat. We're going to focus on foods that are high in protein. I teach people to aim for a gram of protein per pound of their goal weight. I'm good at between 120 and 130. That's what I try to eat. And eat the fat that comes with it. Do not be afraid of it. Do not throw out the yolk. Do not worry about buying lean chicken breasts. Buy the chicken thighs. When you take in fat with protein, you digest it and absorb it better. You need to assimilate bile acids to digest and absorb protein. What does that? Fat, right? Don't be afraid of butter. Now, certainly don't use margarine or canola oil, any of these seed oils. Stick with, butter, tallow, lard, ghee, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those are my biggest fans. Use those and don't be afraid of them. Okay. And then the third is to add some nutraceuticals. These nutraceuticals just make step 1 and 2 easier. Why? They increase our own endogenous, our own production of a hormone called GLP-1, which, unless you've lived under a rock for the last 3 years, you've heard of this term. You might see it as Ozempic, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy. Now, a couple of those are a little more than a GLP-1, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So these increase our own production 60 to 70%. So it shuts off that food noise in our head that we call food noise, and it increases satiety. It makes pushing the plate away very easy, and it makes fasting easy. This is a chlorogenic acid extract that comes from a yerba mate plant. Not only does it do that, but it gives a great source of energy, but not like caffeine where you peak and then you crash.
Mm-hmm.
It increases insulin sensitivity. It is a potent anti-inflammatory. I have so many people with I'm sure you've seen in the work that you've done, autoimmune conditions have just, exacerbated by the mile. And this really helps suppress that inflammatory process, which helps those autoimmune conditions kind of subside. It lowers blood pressure. It's an antioxidant and it's anti-carcinogenic. The data is there. It's pretty powerful. Yerba mate contains something called ferulic acid along with chlorogenic acid. Ferulic acid, some women may have seen it in their skincare products. Ferulic acid is a pretty powerful compound. So in the presence of our gut microbiome, it turns into a DPP-4 inhibitor. And that's a diabetic drug. A DPP-4 inhibitor is a diabetic drug. So what that does is not only does the chlorogenic acid increase our own production of GLP-1, but the DPP-4 inhibitor makes it stay around longer. So this does what Ozempic does with zero side effects. Children, pregnant women, nursing moms can use it. The second part of this, so I drink one in the morning.
Okay.
I use it as a pre-workout. I use it as my breakfast. I fast through breakfast. I never think of food when I drink this. It truly helps me be productive and focused. I drink another one throughout the afternoon. And then before my largest meal, or if I know I'm going to eat a little bit more carbs than I normally eat, I'll drink this fiber matrix. This is a blend of 7 different types of soluble and insoluble fibers. It's only 3 grams, so it's not the volume, it's the diversity, along with some plant phytosterols and some B vitamins. This lowers glucose more than metformin. So metformin, per clinical studies, lowers glucose about 25 to 30%. This lowers glucose 34 to 37%. The Cleveland Clinic, I'm sure you've heard of the Cleveland Clinic, has studied this particular supplement and stated that it could replace lipid-lowering medication. So this is really one of the most well-studied all-natural statins, if you want to call it that. So I use it because it's an all-natural statin, Ozempic, and metformin with no side effects, with no contraindications, with no interactions with any meds. It's safe for all ages. We're backed by over 24 clinical studies. We're covered by HSA, FSA accounts. We're in 63 countries. So if you have international people watching your podcast and want information, then they can obtain this. And everybody gets a 90-day money-back guarantee. So I really got on it, or became passionate about it, because I got on it myself. I've struggled with high triglycerides despite living a low carbohydrate, intermittent fasting, and very physically active lifestyle. My triglycerides were 250. That's about where I lived.
Wow.
And in 8 weeks, this supplement protocol took mine from 250 down to 50. And it took my good cholesterol, my HDL, from 53 up to 122. And I have the blood work to show it. My fasting insulin went down to 2.4 to 1.1. So I have been more metabolically healthy, and I feel fantastic utilizing these. And they're also great for gut health. It's a prebiotic, so it's a good gut health product.
And Shannon, with those products as well, again, as you spoke about, I mean, I know it's for everybody, but again, a type 1 diabetic, no issues with
No.
Type 2 diabetic can take it as well.
Correct. Now, a type 1, I would wish I wish it was possible, but we can't reverse type 1.
Mhm.
But the type 1 diabetics that are using this are using at least 40% less insulin. And that is our goal. The less insulin, the less fat they get,
Mhm.
and the less insulin resistant they get. With type 2s, you can completely reverse type 2 diabetes.
Okay. Does your program and or those supplements, do they affect the hemoglobin A1C levels as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So just to give you a little idea, I've had patients with A1Cs of 16.5
Not healthy.
come down to 5,
Oh my.
and they've lost 186 pounds. That's just one
Yeah.
example. I had another gentleman lose 110 pounds in 6 months. He came off 23 of 25 medications.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, that's something that more and more people need to know
I mean,
for sure.
it makes me sad that most people don't know that this is out there
Mhm.
because nobody's talking about it. Doctors aren't going to talk about it. They don't know about it, and they're not going to talk about a natural option. They just know based on standards of care. You have high blood pressure, you get high blood pressure meds. You have high cholesterol, you get put on a statin. You're diabetic, you're likely getting metformin, a sulfonylurea, and then probably insulin.
Yeah.
And that's just, and then one med becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 4. And now you're chronically in this cycle of being sick. And I have people every day tell me, no, my blood pressure is normal. My blood sugar is great on a medication.
Yeah.
You take that medication away, what happens? It goes through the roof again. So you're band-aiding it. You're not treating it. You're band-aiding it.
Mhm.
I teach people how to treat it, how to reverse it. It's gone.
That's incredible. I mean, I really enjoy what you're saying about that. It sounds like a great product, and we'll talk more about it in a little bit. But have you noticed in the work that you're doing, with seeing clients, has there been more of a demand for services like yours over the last few years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was fortunate and blessed enough to be able to start this as a side business. Once I drank the Kool-Aid per
Yeah.
se and saw what it did for me, I said more people need to know about this. So I just started at it as a side business as for coaching people,
Mm.
and have been able. There's so many people that are looking for options like this and looking for help, and I really feel like people are starting to wake up and say, you know what, I do have the power and control over my own health. I don't have to be under direction of a doctor. Now, I do believe that meds are necessary. I do think that doctors are necessary when you're sick. These are dietary conditions, and I mean this with all respect, but we caused them to ourselves.
Yeah.
We've eaten ourselves here. And so we have to change our lifestyle. We have to eat our way out of these conditions, and band-aiding them with meds are not fixing things. So people are really tired of taking. My average dialysis patient took 19 pills. They're sick of pills. They're sick of a doctor visit to get on another med, to just be told, you know what, Derek, this is something you're going to have to deal with and manage for the rest of your life. That is just not true.
Yeah.
And I will show you, and I will teach you, and I will guide you, and I'll be your biggest cheerleader till you get there.
Yeah. I love to hear that. In your business specifically, Shannon, this one that you're working on, what are you focused on in the business currently?
What I'm focused on is being a voice for those that don't have a voice, and being a guiding light for people that want to get better. There's so much information out there. People don't know who to listen to or where to go.
Mhm.
So they listen to their doctor. And I don't mean to disrespect doctors. I love doctors. They're some of my dearest friends, but I had to go learn it myself. And unless they, like Dr. Ken Berry, like Dr. Bickman, like Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Mariella, they took it upon themselves to go learn this. Their patients taught them. They learned it. They've seen it. They've practiced it. The medical schools, dietetic school don't teach us this.
Yeah.
And so, my duty, my godly given purpose is to help people, show them that you can get better and live a healthy long life, and I'll show you how. So I just want to, I want to be a voice. I want to tell as many people out there that are listening that you can get better. I will help you. I will show you. You have to do the work, but I'm going to be here to help you. And there are things besides medicine to get you there.
Yeah. Many years ago, we didn't have these medicines that were there. People were moderately healthy. We need to get back to that point. So in your business as well, Shannon, are there challenges that you're facing with it?
Oh, 1,000 challenges. Number one, people think I'm snake oil. Number two, their doctor doesn't approve it, so they're not going to listen to it. Number three, it's expensive, or number four, people are just, they don't want to change. They want to get better, but they don't want to put the work into it to change. That's why this GLP-1 market has blown up. Is people just want to inject and continue to eat.
Yeah, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the real work that's important to making a change in them.
I mean, it's more than weight loss. It's more than weight loss. It's about mitochondrial health. It's about, having muscle. That's longevity. It's about, working with your circadian rhythm. It's about making sure your vitamins and minerals are up to par. It's about, brain health. It's about all of these things.
Yeah. So depending on the patients, the clients that you work with, whether they're type 1, type 2, they don't have diabetes, they've got chronic fatigue, they've got other issues that they're dealing with. What does success look like for your clients?
Success is going to be very individualized, but I think success, I have patients that just don't want their feet to hurt anymore. And that's a win for them. I have patients that have struggled to get their glucose below 300, and now we're in the low 100s. That's a win for them. I have others that I just spoke with a lady today. She's I'm not going to say her name. Well, I guess I can. Her name's Roxana. She's a keto coach. She's very prominent in the low carb keto space. She walks the walk. She has her own coaching platform, and she's been on these for a week. She's down 3 pounds in a week. And she goes, this is unbelievable. I haven't changed anything. That's a win for her. Yeah. She's very metabolically healthy, but that was a win for her. It could be gut health. How many people struggle with chronic constipation or bloating when they eat or acid reflux? That's a win for them. What if I can shut off the food noise where you're not eating lunch and constantly thinking about what you're eating for dinner? That inability to feel satiated is why people go to GLP-1s, because they're desperate. They're tired of constantly being controlled by their hunger. That's a win for them. So I just want to help them feel the best they can about themselves and be as healthy as they can. And if that means that we reduce their meds and they're still on some, that may be fine. If it means we get you off all meds, that's even better.
Yeah, love to hear it. What's the vision that you have of your business over the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, I really want to change the world. I know that's a big thing. I want to spread this to as many people around the world that need to hear it. If people know that they have options, then they can make the choice. But they don't know that options like my 3-step protocol, these supplements exist. They don't have the ability to just say, I want to choose that. So my vision is to become prominent in the metabolic health space, not for myself or for my name or for fame, but as that protocol that Shannon Davis talks about has helped me and thousands of people get healthy. And that's really what I want. I want people to know that there are options and that there are people that truly care about them and that will help them.
Yeah. As we get close to wrapping this up, I'll share any links that you want inside of our show notes, and they'll be able to reach out to you if they want. But how would you like people to be able to connect with you to learn more?
Perfect. That's amazing. Well, unfortunately, my second TikTok account just got shut down today.
Oh, no.
So I will be trying to start a third. And I really just make content on metabolic health. So it's amazing how, that gets shut down, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm really more prominent on Facebook. So it's under Shannon Davis. You can find me there. Everything I post, guys, is for free. It's free knowledge, free education. You can message me. I try to respond to every single person. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm starting on X, but I'm on, I guess, every social media platform. That I have a link in every one of these profiles where you can purchase the supplements, where you can reach out to me. And so I'm happy to share that with you. But I guess if you go somewhere first, you're probably going to go to Facebook is where I'm most prominent now.
Okay. I'll make sure that we drop those again in the show notes. So the last question I ask everybody, you're on the Prime Health podcast. Prime Health, to me it means optimal physical and mental health. It means different for everybody that's there. I can absolutely do some improvements in myself, but what does Prime Health mean to you?
Wow, that's a great question. And I think it's probably going to change as I move through different stages of my life. If you'd asked me in my 20s, I'd have been like a 6-pack abs and glutes that look like you could sit a cup on them. As I'm in my 40s, I want to be as healthy as I can for as long as I can. We all want to live forever, but what good is living forever if those years are not quality? So I really want to, I want to stay mentally strong. I want to keep learning. I want to be better. I'm a work in progress. I want to see the world and experience new things. I want to make as many friends as I can. I want to build my relationship closer to God. I want to help my parents live a long, healthy life as stress-free as possible. I truly, Prime Health, if I can be the walking example to the information that I put out there, and I try every day to be better and to do that, and then that's Prime Health.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You're a very motivating individual, an extremely knowledgeable individual from what you've brought. And Shannon, from your path, from when you were younger, the experience that you had, I'm terribly sorry about the IVF situation that you went through. That's not easy for anybody to do. And you are so open and wanting to help the people that you thought you were helping before, which you did, but you've wanted to help them even more moving forward. So I always tell people, when you watch a podcast like this, you need to share it. And the reason you need to share it is Shannon has a message that needs to get out. When you're out having coffee or, working out with a friend or with a family member, they're like, I'm bloated, I'm having issues. My doctor told me I'm getting really close to being a type 2 diabetic. Well, if the doctor says you're close, you're already there. They're just not letting you know that. So if you share this, people can learn about Shannon, learn about what Shannon can do, learn about the products that Shannon has that can help them. So we just ask that you share it for that purpose. Of course, I'll be selfish and say, hey, I'd love for you to share the podcast, subscribe to it, whatever you can do. It's always great. So make sure you do check out Shannon's content below with the links that we have. But until next time, remember that true wellness is a journey that we are on together. Whether you're taking charge of your own health or you're helping people take charge of theirs, regardless, do what you can to always go after Prime Health. Shannon, thank you very much for your time to be on the podcast. I appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.